And welcome to this hybrid meeting of Social Services Scrutiny Committee on the 30th of October 2025. I am Councillor Charlotte Goldfrey and I will be chairing this meeting. Before we move on to the next agenda item, please note that this meeting will be recorded. Please can you ensure that your phones are switched to silent for the duration of the meeting. When asked to raise your hand, can members who are virtually viewing this meeting raise your electronic hand, and members who are in the room just raise your hand. For those members virtually viewing this meeting, please can you keep the chat function for urgent IT issues and not for questions or comments. However, we are aware that a lot of you are having connection issues. So if you do drop out, just obviously come back in, or if you have got issues, contact Tom. I wish to remind members signing in remotely of the legal obligation to have their camera switched on during the meeting, please, in order to be seen and heard while participating in council business. Officers are reminded that they are free to leave the meeting following their item. We are not due to have a fire drill today, so should the alarm sound during the meeting, please make your way to the nearest exit. For the purpose of the recording, please can we go around the table now and introduce yourselves for the benefit of the recording and members at home.
Councillor Sharon Freegard, representing the Talbot ward.
Councillor Alan Llewellyn, Cabinet Member for Housing and Community Safety and Deputy Leader.
I'm Shalay Howard, Head of Housing and Communities.
Good afternoon, Mark Edwards, Principal Officer, House Strategy.
Emma O'Brien, Principal Officer for Homelessness.
Well, I'm Nuna Alexandria and I'm a Principal Officer in Children's Services.
Kelly Warren, Head of Children's Services.
Good afternoon, everyone. Andy Jarrett. I'm the Director of Housing and Community Safety here in the Council.
I'm Tommy, so I'm the Democratic Service Officer for this meeting.
Councillor Helen Clark, Vice Chair.
Thank you, everyone. And now I will move on to agenda item 2. Are there any declarations of interest?
Yes. Item 5C, I think I should declare that I am a welfare benefits advisor for a charity. And item 6B, I'm also declaring that my a close friend is the safeguarding officer for Adveriat.
Okay. Declarations of interest forms can be found in the resources and guidance area the members have. Can you just complete one online? If there are any issues, please contact Tom. Agenda item 3. You will see minutes attached at pages 5 to 22 of your agenda pack. If you feel these minutes are accurate record of the meeting, I will propose. Can I have a seconder, please?
Second, Chair.
If members do not indicate to the contrary, then I will take it that these minutes are approved.
I see no indications to the contrary, Chair, therefore those minutes are approved as accurate.
Go straight on to part 1, agenda item 4. This is now to consider the Cabinet Forward Work Programme items, but there are none for the Cabinet Work Programme today. So we go straight into part 2, which is agenda item 5. We'll now go straight in to consider the report as selected by this committee for consideration from the Scrutiny Committee Forward Work Programme. So we go straight into 5A, which is the Wales Audit Office report on temporary accommodation. I just want to say as well that this did go to audit also this week, and there was a good discussion going on in that as well. So obviously, am I going just straight over to Shelley?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. So around about this time last year, Neath, Talbot, alongside all other local authorities in Wales, were involved in a Wales Audit Office review into the use of temporary accommodation and how that was used to alleviate people's homelessness situation. So the position we took as a department in responding to this, that we hopefully communicated to the Welsh Audit Office, was that we know that we have far too many people finding themselves homeless and needing temporary accommodation, that we've got too many people that then find themselves stuck in temporary accommodation because they struggle to find another tenancy, and that we are reliant on bed and breakfast to prevent people from becoming street homeless, and that bed and breakfast are the most optimal accommodation solution for those vulnerable homeless people. But what we tried to communicate, and hopefully we did communicate, is that we have a very clear strategy and plan in place to address these issues, and we're making good progress against that. Hopefully some of that progress will be communicated today in other items that we have before you. But of course, like any transformation, it will take time to get from where we are to where we want to be. We felt that the audit was actually very well timed given our transformation work programme. And we very much welcomed the report that is before you today, and also the recommendations that the Wales Audit Office made, because that's very much in line with our strategic thinking and our plans. We provided a full response to the recommendations. You'll find that in Appendix 2. We submitted that to the Audit Office and they have accepted our response. You will note that Neath Talbot in the audit report is actually mentioned quite a few times in the chapter on how local authorities can improve their approach, which we feel is a positive indicator that we are on the right track with what we're trying to achieve in our transformation journey. So I'll hand back to you, Chair, for any questions. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. So we'll go straight into questions there now. So if I go to Sharon first.
Thank you, Chair. You talk about a clear strategy, Shirley. On page 45, it's asking about councils that own their temporary accommodation. Have we got arrangements in place for maintenance?
The maintenance. So yeah, we already have a number of. So we've got our temporary accommodation that we've got at the moment that is on our ownership, and we've also got leased units. Emma, could you just explain the arrangements that we've got in place?
Yeah, sure. So with the leases, we've got a significant number of leases that are Titarian, with a small number from smaller RSLs as well. So the arrangements have maintenance covered in it. We've also got some hostel buildings where we've got management agreements as opposed to leases, which makes it a little bit more complicated. Some we do the maintenance ourselves, some are done by the RSLs, and that is a piece of work that's ongoing as well for any purchases that we're due to make in the future as well. So the maintenance arrangements are always very, very clear in any lease agreements that we've got in terms of who carries that out.
So we have our own maintenance plan then?
Depending on the agreement for the specific leased units, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so that's the current situation. As we move forward and we as a council start to own more accommodation, and we will need to build up our maintenance team, and we will need to look at how we do that. So there will be cost to that, but there'll be savings overall by the fact that we're bringing some of this stuff in-house. So our plan is to own more accommodation. As we own more, we'll need more of a maintenance function that we haven't had in the past.
So we'll be taking on more stuff then, appropriate to that plan?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I just got another question, yeah, about the rapid rehousing transition plan. I just wondered, it talks in the report about primary, secondary and tertiary approaches. Have we got that? It's right through the report.
Yeah, we did a response to that. I think the prevention report that we'll be discussing later on will cover a lot of that, because prevention is obviously one of our main focus in terms of trying to stop people getting into temporary accommodation in the first place. So we've got various stages of that, which we'll discuss later. But you know, it's your very early intervention, then your statutory duty stuff, and then obviously more progress, and then where prevention isn't successful. So yeah, those three stages are definitely in place, and we've responded.
Yeah, it's just making sure we're in line with the recommendation.
Yes. Yeah, we are. Yes, yeah.
Gone. Bear with me a minute because I've got to go. This last night is new to me. Oliver, please.
Thank you, Chair. Just reading the report, it's more of a comment than anything. Audit Wales, when it looks at, a lot of the paragraphs start, some other councils, half councils. it's well into the report before we actually get any mention of MPT. Would it be more beneficial if our report was more focused on MPT as it's our committee, rather than wanting to know, because it's not very specific what other councils and the other half or whatever they're doing. And I said it's very vague.
Yeah, sure. I think intentionally, I think it had to talk about a number of councils because it was a cross Wales audit report. So I think what we've brought alongside this is our reports about what we're doing in Neath Talbot. So they will relate specifically to the Neath Talbot situation. This report looked at the audit of all local authorities across Wales, and that's what's being reported from Welsh Audit Office.
Happy with that, Oliver?
Can I come back, Chair? I was only wondering, as I said, I respect what you said, Andrew, and quite happy with the response of MPT. But with my audit head on from audit, the cost we pay for these audits, now, is this a copy and paste that would go across all other councils? Because it seems that they'll be making money more than once with various other councils rather than making it specific.
You just put the director on the spot.
That's fine. No, so this was specifically, so we're not presenting this today to scrutiny as a report just of MPT Council. This is a report, as I say, across the whole of Wales by the Audit Office, who I believe are funded through Welsh Government funding overall. So we wouldn't have instigated this audit. It was done as a response to presumably Welsh Government and the Audit Office taking a view that homelessness was an issue across Wales and therefore they needed to have a look into this. So we are today as officers presenting you the national report. It does mention Neath Talbot on a number of occasions in good light, I think, but that's by coincidence rather than anything else. The report is across Wales, not specific to Neath Talbot. And as I say, when you want the detail of Neath Talbot, then there are other reports on the agenda today that will talk to you about the detail there.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Okay.
Oliver, do you want to come back?
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, the biggest observation I've seen on this document is that, especially when you say that it's Welsh Government and this audit for all of Wales, is it doesn't seem as when Welsh Government brought in, obviously, Home for Everyone during the COVID crisis, they didn't actually go and do due diligence and that themselves on the pressure they put on local authorities. And I just want to know, has that support from Welsh Government increased? Because it seems as if everyone was just sort of, the 22 local authorities were just sort of left to their own devices, put your own sort of systems in place and do what you can and like feedback to us. So I don't see any sort of criticism or anything mentioned about the way in which Welsh Government have had their part to play in this by how they've done it as well. So I just don't know if obviously, you know, they've improved on their communications and support, because I think at first they put it on us, but they didn't give us all of the support that we needed. They put the rules in play, but didn't do the background work. That's what I can sort of gather from the report.
I mean, yeah, thank you for that question. So this particular report, I think, was very much focused on what local authorities are doing and whether local authorities were getting best value for money. Welsh Government are doing a number of things to support local authorities. So, for example, the TACP fund, I can't remember the name of the acronym, but it's basically capital money to support local authorities to develop the social housing and the additional homes needed to meet the demand for housing. They've increased and put a lot of money behind things like social housing grants. So there's a lot of capital programs to support the development and increasing the stock of affordable housing. They've also committed more funding to the housing support grant, which is the grant that can be used to provide support services to people as well. But this particular document just focuses on how local authorities are responding and reacting to the increased demand, and whether we're getting value for money. I would say, we do have very regular meetings with members of Welsh Government, including the Housing Minister. You guys, because I was away, met just a couple of weeks ago. So we do have regular communications, and we do regularly explain what our pressures and challenges are in meeting some of these statutory requirements and what additional pressure these statutory requirements have placed on local authorities.
So have obviously their meetings with obviously the minister and that actually come into play sort of in recent times, or has it always been there?
The meetings that we have, I don't know long ago,
No.
but we've recently
Yeah.
had meetings with the actual housing minister.
Yeah.
They have quarterly meetings with us now. So we've had our second quarterly meeting. So that's a recent development. We also have housing and leadership group that happens every couple of months. That's been long standing. I've been attending that since I came into post. So I assume that's been going on for quite a while. And we also have relationship managers as well. So there's a Welsh Government relationship manager that meets with Emma and Mark every 6 weeks. Every 6 weeks as well, and we feed things back to them as well.
Yeah, that was put in place early COVID, and that has remained for the last 5 years. Yeah.
Okay, Alan, your opinion?
Yes, Jav, because I think you were asking an relevant question about the resources that are available, because it's not solely to do with housing. We see it in other aspects of local authority work where we have to respond to legislation, and it's a perennial question as to whether or not we are then provided with sufficient resources to actually cover the costs that are involved for dealing with that legislation. And there have been a number of different initiatives around housing. You mentioned the impetus not to have people homeless during the COVID period, which was then carried on after COVID and is now being enshrined in the new legislation that's been drafted in the housing bill. And at the quarterly roundtable meeting with the local government and housing minister, where Mark and Emma were, myself were present, and actually was unable to attend on that day. It came up as a question, not just from ourselves, but from the other local authorities in the region that were present. Looking for assurances that we would actually be properly resourced to meet the needs of the new bill. There was an explanation of the assessment process, wasn't there? The integrated assessment process, including an element around the resource. At this stage, and I suppose it's understandable because the bill hasn't been fully worked out, it's still subject to scrutiny at same level. There wasn't a definitive answer as to how much resources would be made available, but it is something as local authorities that we continually raise with Welsh Government to ensure that I think we all agree with most of the principles that are involved in the housing and homelessness legislation, but it's being able to properly enact that and ensure that we can resource it properly.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Carol, please.
Thanks, Chair. I have three. Do you want me to ask them separately?
No, just ask them all together.
Okay. Apologies to Shelley. I did ask some of these in audit, but for the sake of the rest of the committee, I thought I'd just re-ask them. Are you confident, excuse me, are you confident our housing support services are good enough to support temporary housing tenants, especially our most vulnerable? Will you be working with ward councillors on the purchase of homes in their areas? And key facts and figures states Welsh Government gave 219.5 million. What did we have and what was it spent on? Thank you.
Thank you. So the housing support grant services, we set those services up at a point in time, and they were the right services at that point in time. Like all kind of population needs change. We've seen a change in need and demand within homelessness services, and we need to make sure that our support services respond to those changes in need. I can see Hayley Short is here today, actually. She's overseeing a very comprehensive review of all housing support grant services to make sure that we can identify any areas where we need to change those service models in order to better meet the needs of our populations. Hayley, is there anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I don't want to get too ahead of myself because we're still in the depths of the review, but we know there's a lot of work to do, to be completely honest with us. So we know that we're not the outcomes ain't being measured in the right way. We know we need to be more specific about what support needs to be provided. There's a lot of low level support which we need to question if we need any more because the complexity levels have gone up. So we were very much in the midst of the review, and the report, the outcome of the review will be presented when it's concluded.
Thank you, Hayley. With regards to ward councillors on the purchase of properties, so as you are aware, we had permission to start developing our own housing stock to support the alleviation of homelessness. We have a process in place. We will notify local board members when we've had an offer accepted on a property. There is a all members seminar, I think it's the 6th of November next week, where we will go into more detail and make sure that everyone is aware of the process and our plans and be able to answer any questions specific to any local members. But yeah, we will notify local members when we purchase a property in their ward area.
Can I just stop you for that a minute, actually? Because basically what you've just said is when they've accepted. Surely the ward councillor might have information, depend on obviously the house before you purchased it. So basically what you're saying is that when you've actually signed the deal,
when we put an offer in.
Right, so
Yeah,
why aren't you contacting them before then? Obviously there's only a phone call to a councillor.
Yeah, we need to be quite dynamic and move quite quickly. We can always, when we speak to a local member, if there's something very particular that we hadn't been aware of, that means that wouldn't be viable, we can always withdraw the offer. We're not at the stages where there's, a legal obligation to purchase. So we feel that is the right time to be able to inform local members, because until we've had an offer accepted, we don't know whether we would buy that property. We could put an offer in and they say, no, we don't want it. We don't want your offer. We don't want to sell to you, or it might have gone. So we could be then bombarding local members with, oh, we might be buying this one, we might be buying that one. At that stage, we know there's something concrete to tell local members. But like I say, once we contact local members, if you were going to say to me, well, there's this, this and this, did you know? And we didn't want to withdraw that offer. So it isn't a
If that
final
doesn't make sense to me, because it's only literally a phone call to a local board member, just to say, this is the house we're looking at and this is what we're going to do to put a bid in for it, rather than it just does, it sounds a bit cut and dagger but there, to be honest.
Yeah, so if I come in a little bit around some of the work we've done, is that okay? Just at this point. Just around the numbers, we've had sight on about 150 properties in the last few months because the market is quite volatile. We're looking at a lot of properties to get to position to put an offer in. So we have viewed and just under 50 properties as well. So the numbers are quite high. So it would be quite intense to contact all members at a point in time. But there is still a provision once the offer's gone and been accepted to have those discussions.
Well, in fairness, in most wards there's only 1, 2, maybe in my own ward there's 3. But it's the fact that it's a 1 minute phone call, to all the work you're putting in. That's what I'm saying, and that's what we've said all along here, is about members being involved in part of this process going forward. And that's always been the case. I've never said anything different when we've taken this up. So again, I think it just seems as if, oh, well, we've signed the deal, now we tell them. Well, I don't think that's right, to be honest. So, going forward, I think maybe a better relationship with what that's on the matter.
Yeah, only because my decision around when we to recommend to cabinet about retail members is always a balance to all of this. I think on balance, the recommendation that I'm putting forward is is that it should be when the offer's been accepted, on the basis that we can step back from that in exceptional circumstances. But we do need to make progress on this, and I think it would delay progress if what we were doing was approaching each individual councillor when we had a notion that we might put an offer in.
I think when speaking to most councillors, it's more the fact of about getting support services right once obviously the houses are actually purchased, more than the actual purchase of the homes. Because if you got the support services right, then obviously, you know, you're going to reduce any issues or whatever that comes there, and obviously the right tenancies that match the right areas. So I'm just going to disagree with you on that.
Okay.
I'm happy to respect your decision, but then again, you've got to respect mine too, in that sense. So, right, okay, we move on.
And then you mentioned a pot of money, but which grant was that? Sorry. Was it to do with housing support grants or?
It was, and on the papers that when I wrote it, it was page 34, key facts and figures from the Welsh Government. They've given 219.5 million. How much did we get, and what was it spent on?
Okay, let me just have a look so I can see the context. Page 34, did you say?
Yeah, well, yeah, but I wrote this from the audit papers. I'm going to go through them again because I've already been.
Yeah. Yeah, the Welsh Government allocated a significant investment to this area, allocating 2.195 million tonnes to support and prevention in 2025.
219.5 million.
219.5 million. So that looks like it's to do with housing support grant and maybe other grants that we've got. Hayley, just remind me, what's the total amount of housing support grant that we are now receiving? Because I know it changed this year, didn't it?
Yes, from memory, I think it's 845,000, but I am looking for the figure now and I will update.
Chair, can
and
I
then
come
we
back?
have some other.
Sorry.
Bear with me, Sinead needs to answer a question.
Yes, I didn't realise she hadn't finished, sorry.
Yeah, and then we have some other grants as well, smaller grants from Welsh Government. I don't have those figures to hand, but we can pull them out for you and send them after this meeting if you like, so we can get you the accurate figures of all the different grants we get in.
That would be wonderful, thank you. Chair, can you indulge me in one thing, please?
Yeah.
I'd just like to say that Charlotte's got a real good point there. There are places in wards where we know about other factors, external factors. So for some areas, say in Baglan, flooding is a big problem in Baglan. People think if you live on the side of a hill, you don't get flooding, but we do. We get a lot of it. So having that kind of input would help before you even start. You're saving yourself an awful lot of work if you just check with us first if there are issues in that local area. We also have other little pockets, in the main not, but there are some areas where housing is becoming available, where there are drug problem issues and things like that. So I just think that these are things you may not necessarily know about, but your ward councillor would. I just wanted to put that out there, but thank you for indulging me, Chair.
No problem. And I second what Carol just said as well. Fine.
Yeah, can I just come back on that? Yeah, I echo Carol's thoughts on that, because there are like some idiosyncrasies in wards that you may not be aware of. And we talk about council purchasing property where we may be able to, you know, give you some information on certain things. So I was just wanting to clarify, because I know you've just firmly said that it would be when the offer was accepted, but Shelley said when the offer goes in. Would you reconsider and talk to ward members when the offer actually goes in, so that we could give you that information before you actually purchase? That's one question. The other question is, have we made offers for to buy properties and we have not yet contacted the ward members?
Not that I'm aware of.
So how many?
So we have made and had 10 offers accepted. We've notified the ward members at the time of the offer being accepted, and spoken to the ward members. To my knowledge, there's been no notable issues with any of the properties. We do our own checks, so we check with community safety to look around the area, make sure there's no kind of, so we get a good understanding of that local area in terms of community safety, things like that. So there are checks that we do as well as part of this to identify whether we think the area is suitable.
I just say community safety teams, they do a fantastic job, but they do not know our wards like us. They don't know the individuals that live in the areas and certain houses or anything like that. They don't know paws on patrol, dogs, and they do events, etc. But they don't know our wards. It's exactly the same as a lot of the police officers as well. So that's why the police officers come to us as well in many of our wards for many issues. So whatever you say on that, I'm not going to, agree with you, because the councillor, well, good councillor will actually know their wards inside out.
I totally agree with that. Ward members do know of things that community safety may not be aware of, and issues. I mean, we have regular meetings with the police, etc. There's all sorts of issues that we know of that you may not be aware of. So I haven't been notified, so I'm presuming there's nothing in the patrol ward.
And ward councillors actually meet every single month with the inspector to give them an update on our wards. But you obviously are going to community safety over ward members, which isn't right.
Okay, so that, sorry,
Yeah.
Yeah, no, so to answer the first question that Councillor Bigard put to me in particular, yeah, so as I said, there is a balance to all of this. We've had a look at this as officers, and I've taken a position of this is my recommendation. Clearly, the cabinet members here today will hear what you've got to say, and we'll take a view on that. We've got a seminar next week, and again, we'll be presenting this to the seminar. We want to be absolutely open around all of this. We'll get feedback from that, and then we will go from there. As I say, from my point of view, the deal is not done until we actually sign on the line. So there is still the opportunity for local councillors to feed in that important information that they might have. Up till now, the reassurance is we haven't had any. So where we've notified councillors, they've not said anything. But if they did, then we would be responding to that in a positive way whenever we can. But as I say, it will be for cabinet to make the decision in the end, and they will have heard what you said today.
Alan, what do you have anything to say about that now?
Yes, this is something that's been discussed about where does the balance lie. We will, obviously, this is a new venture for us. It's the first time that we have looked to purchase significant numbers of properties since the stock.
And if I just remind you there, that was because this scrutiny committee stepped in and obviously contacted Welsh Government as a committee here, so obviously for the purchase of the houses. So this committee has been heavily involved in that. And even though you are a cabinet member, Alan, you're also a ward member as well.
Yes.
It's same as us all. So again, I think it needs to be taken into account as well, what every single ward member, if you were a ward member also.
Yes, and if I was a ward member and there was a property that was coming up, then obviously, another colleague would step in terms of any issues on that, to avoid any conflict of interest. But going back to the question about where the balance lies, I believe that if it's at the point where an offer has been accepted, so there's a realistic possibility of that property being completed, because a lot of properties do fall by the wayside. It's also important, of course, for the ward members to know that they're handling quite confidential and sensitive information. At a time when there's a realistic possibility of that property actually, the purchase being completed on it. But it does give the opportunity, if there were serious concern, and I think it's going to be, on an exceptional basis, because, we will need to purchase properties across the county borough, in all sorts of areas, as they come available and are deemed suitable. It does give the opportunity on an exceptional basis, if there's information that's of significance, that the completion doesn't actually have to go ahead. And that we feel has been the right point of the balance so far. As the officers have said, that seems to have been acceptable to the wards where properties have been purchased and where the discussions have taken place at that time with the local members. There will be support in place for people that are moving in, because the impetus obviously is to ensure that these tenancies are successful, and that in the event of any difficulties, that the mechanism in place to intervene, to give support, but also, if necessary, to end the licenses or the tenure agreement that will be in place. So there's a tremendous amount of work going on in terms of making sure that the assessment is correct, but also that the support is correct as well. So that any tenancy, there is no absolute guarantee whether that tenancy will turn out, and that applies at the moment. In our sale properties in our wards, in private rented properties in our wards, in HMOs and so on.
And
The difference here is that these properties will be managed by the local authority, and the support will be.
Yeah, if I can just go back, because the question I had to you was, if you were a ward member, would you actually, like it that you were the afterthought? And I'm not just speaking about myself, I'm speaking on behalf of all members.
It's not a matter of being an afterthought, it's a matter of being in what we've all been part of passing the framework of the strategy, and we need to make progress. And so I certainly don't see it as a.
Which has been a lot of conversations in that as well.
I'm trying to answer the question. I don't see that this is treating ward members as an afterthought. A lot of work would have been done to get it to the point where a property will be purchased, and an offer made and accepted, and that safety net is there to make sure that the ward member is made aware. The ward member is made aware of the support that will be in place, but also if there are serious concerns and exceptional circumstances, those can be taken on board before this completion of the property. So I certainly don't see that. It's an operational matter, isn't it? I think we have confidence in the officers to be diligent around this, but that safety net is there. The information is there for board members before the point at which completion of the property is made. I honestly don't see that as an afterthought. And you're quite right, it could be my ward. It could be, it could be anybody's ward, at different times. And the stock will be built up. And obviously that means that, over a period of time, there will be several different areas involved in it. But, that safety net is there. But also, the experience of the officers are there as well. In terms of making sure that this process is properly supported.
Well, I think it's something we're all going to disagree on anyway, but I'm happy to move on a bit from that. However, it's also, I've always said, whether it's now briefings or not, it's always better to bring councillors on board with you all the way throughout things like this when it affects, because it's always, when you say it's about controversial, no, as I've said to you, it's literally, if the councillors are on board with you, they will help you actually embed, new tenants into the wards, and they will help you go along. Once obviously a member feels as if they're an outcast, which me personally, I would. So obviously, and I know there's a lot of others, it's just that you haven't purchased houses in their areas, because there is conversation going on about this now. So again, that was always my thing, is about bringing everyone working together, and I just don't think you've done it in the right way. But that's my own view. So, that'd be it. Bashar, you want to comment?
I just wanted to clarify, Alan, because you've said it a number of times now, that we will be involved before completion. Like you said, after completion, but no, saying before completion.
Before completion, after an offer has been made and accepted, so we know that before completion, there's a significant gap, isn't there, between an offer being accepted and the property.
Because there's an awful lot of work and resources and staff time that goes into the preparation and making the offer initially. So, I would just say, could you consider slightly earlier involving and bringing along with you the board members?
I actually agree with Andrew and Alan, because as a ward member, I don't want to be found every day to say, we're going to go and look at this house today. We're going to look at this house today. Because you go and see the house, you see whether they're suitable. Looking at the figures, the majority of them haven't been suitable or haven't been available. And you've got the issues of, you know, I might have somebody who you put an offer in and they say, well, actually, no, I don't want my house to be a council house. I want it to be a family home or whatever.
They might get a better offer.
They might get a better offer. There might be, you know, someone might come in and offer them twice the price or whatever. So I think, you know, if we're not at the stage of making a proper decision of whether we want to buy that house, if we want to buy the house and the offer is accepted by the homeowner, then that's fine. And then if we phone, you know, if you're phoned as a ward member then and say, right, we're going to buy this house, and you say, oh, hang on now. Oh, and the impression I'm getting from Shelley and from Andrew is that if you said, well, no, I don't think that's really suitable, at that point, the offer would probably be withdrawn. So I think.
But can you actually guarantee that then, if that was the case?
Well, I think, Chair, it would need to be reasonable, wouldn't it? So if there were reasonable and exceptional circumstances that we didn't know about, then absolutely we would be listening to the local council, of course. That's the reason why we're involved in the local council at that stage, and we can still step back from it. Absolutely, that's the advice I've been given by Rob, who's doing this business for us. So
Rob Davis.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Because I think they've got different rules in Scotland, haven't they? If you put an offer in, you're obliged to buy it, aren't you? So I think that would be a different conversation. But in Wales, you can put an offer in and then change your mind. And that's what you're saying, basically, isn't it?
Yeah, you will be contacted before there's a legal obligation on us to complete. So it's like I say, it's exactly what you say. When there is a tangible reality that a property is going to be purchased, that's when we will contact the local members. Any earlier, like you say, we could be ringing members up regularly. The market moves very, very quickly. We've got to move very, very quickly. Like we can see on the stats, we say we want to see this property, and then before we even get to go out, we're told, oh, it's off the market now. We see properties and we say, well, yeah, that looks good. By the time we ring in, oh no, it's gone. So we've got to be as dynamic as the market is. We will, as soon as we put an offer in and it is accepted, we email the local member with the full details of that property so that they can be aware, and they can then say, well, there's this, this and this, and we will look at that like Andrew says.
Now we're going to move on now anyway because I'm conscious of time. But it is something that we'll continue to look at, monitor going forward.
Yeah.
Right. Questions online. Oh, Stephanie, sorry.
I've just put my hand down because it was a quick comment on the conversation. I'm happy to move on if it is a different point, but I'm happy to move on if we want to move on.
Yeah, if you just move on now because
Yeah,
you're taking
that's
too much
fine.
time on that one.
Yeah.
Right. Carol, you got more questions on this item?
Same here really, but as a scrutiny committee, we note it, but are we able to put a recommendation forward? Not you, obviously, because we're not voting on it, but are we able then to write to somebody to say that that's our preferred option? As
No,
a
I don't think
committee?
it's necessary, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah, Andrew, Frontman.
Yeah, as a senior officer, I am hearing what you've got to say. I understand from
And that's why I
Scrutiny
don't
how strong your views are on this.
And that's why I don't think there's a need for a recommendation, because I think a point has been made. So, Helen, you got a question?
Not on this, no.
No, got your name down. Right, okay. So, so if I go to page 51, I think, right, you've
Oh, I
got.
have got a question, sorry.
See, I know. I forgot tangent now, and I forgot tangent. I couldn't.
Yeah, it was actually coming, looking at the figures. So sold before viewing, I'm assuming is you wanted to go and look at it, but it went like that. What would not suitable to proceed to viewing be? Would that be that you've looked at the looked at Rightmove and whatever and gone, oh my God, no thanks.
I'll hand over to Rob. Rob, can you talk through what the figures mean and what you've been doing?
Yeah, sure. The strategy team have been looking for the properties on the open market through the estate agents. to see what type of property is suitable. Then it comes over to my team, and we look at it from a condition, a maintenance side of view, to see what condition it's in. Does it need a lot of work? We're looking for properties that need as little work as possible, that need as little maintenance as possible, and are as suitable as we can to move people in as quickly as we can as well. So we're very much doing a desktop sort of exercise using the pictures that are on the estate agency and trying to see into more detail what the windows like, what's the roof like, what's the chimneys like, what's the electrics like, what's the boilers like. And some of them we can see, although the pictures look quite good, some of them are very dated. And that's not what we want at the moment, because one thing we've learned recently with all the properties that we've had sight of, whether it's be to view them or just on the website, there's a lot of properties that have been recently refurbished out there for very good money. So we're trying to stick to that type of property as opposed to properties that are doer-uppers or need a lot of work. So we're then doing this desktop exercise, and the ones then which we think are goers that look good, we then proceed to a viewing. Some of them have been poor as well, because obviously the estate agents put the best pictures of them up all the time. Others have been absolutely immaculate properties and that have been recently refurbished in very good condition. And then what we will do with that, we'll put a quick report together. We'll then agree to proceed to offer. I then do a smaller report that goes to Chalet and Council and Llewellyn, and as soon as I get the approval, I will then speak to the estate agents and put an offer in. Just to sort of show the context of some of the speed that we're working, we had a survey done on Tuesday in one of the properties. I sent the report to Chalet yesterday for approval, and we've had the offer accepted this morning. Now, that particular one, there's quite a lot of interest in it, and I think if we'd left it any longer, we would have lost the property. And this property was a good property in good condition. And that is quite a common scenario within the estate agencies. It is quite a busy market, as Chalet mentioned earlier. We've lost a number of properties which look really good because the estate agent can't fit us in for a week and a half, 2 weeks to go to the viewing. And then when it comes to our viewing, they've sold. Or we'll go out to do the viewing. We're in the middle of doing the report, and somebody who's seen it before us has already put an offer in and bought it. So, you know, we need to move very quickly because we're being quite strict on the quality and the type of property that we want, because we want something that really suits us. And we don't want to buy anything that's going to bring us any problems. As mentioned earlier, the strategy team will go to the community safety team to look for any antisocial issues, or we look at transport links. We do all those sort of checks before it even comes to my team for us to go out and look at it. So things are moving quite quickly, and we've had sight of, I think it's something like 150, 160 properties now. And you know, we are looking at them quite thoroughly at all stages. It's a big piece of work, and it's a very thorough piece of work, but we feel the properties that we are putting offers in are good quality properties that suit us moving forward, that suit the homeless, and shouldn't cause any problems in the areas.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question, actually, is what's the time frame from like when it goes on sale to how soon you can view it? Because I know when I bought my house, it went on sale on Friday and I bought it on the Saturday. So are you able to move at that sort of speed? Or
Well, we are, yeah, that's what Rob, do you want to just talk about the speed of what your team's doing and how quickly you're moving?
We've got some of Mark's team who are constantly looking on the estate agency. They're constantly daily refreshing on what's come onto the market. Some of them have been on a couple of days, some of them have been on a couple of months. You know, that is varying completely, but if we see something that's particularly suitable, we try and jump on it as quickly as we can.
Can I remember that? Have you had any issues with probate?
We haven't got to that stage. Oh, go on, sorry, Rob.
No, nothing at the
I'm
moment.
just saying, because I've had a lot of residents now who've bought houses, and it's probate, and it's been absolutely months and months, and it's probate they're holding up. So I think it's a valid question to ask if any of the houses, actually, because a lot of them is being sold by families, and sometimes it's good, because obviously my own daughter, I know, has bought it and still waiting for the keys, and that was since February. So again, if you want in that sort of fast turnaround as well, you know, it might be that good a house that you want to sort of thing. But again, I think probate is something to obviously look into as well.
Yes, one thing we're also trying to avoid is any properties that are in a chain. If they are in a chain, as long as somebody has found another property, then we look at it. If they haven't, we're avoiding them. And we're asking the estate agents, are there any issues with probate or anything like that? What we're finding is a lot of these properties are ex-rental properties where the landlords are selling. So they've recently refurbished them. There's no chains. There's nothing like that. We're going for as quick a sale as we can. Now, the first one we put an offer in, that was middle of June, and we're due to complete in the next week or two. So things are taking quite a long time from the conveyancing legal side of it. So you know that we are looking 3 to 4 months, we think, for that stage.
Okay, great. Any more, Rebecca?
No, I'm fine, thank you.
Right, okay. Right. Going to just page 51 a minute on it. In obviously just Neath for Talbot now, not Wales. On this, do we have the data in our own services to tell us which, see the diagram of council services, domestic abuse charges, etc. Do we have a breakdown table of obviously the homeless under them categories?
Yeah, I've had a quick look at this morning. So just to give you an idea for the year to date so far, obviously just in Neath, but as you say, so we've had just short of 1,400 presentations in the last 6 months. 80% of those have come from the applicant directly as a self-referral. So the next one, numbers wise, was internal services, but that is 6% of the total of all the applications. So that's from social services colleagues. It might be a local area coordinator, a young person's advisor. So that is only 6%. The next one down then is prison referrals. So, you know, that's about 4%. So it's about 60 in the 60s in terms of numbers. So a significant number of them are self-referrals. I can break it down further. We've got the means in the reporting to do that, but it was just a quick reference this morning just to bring to big. So yeah.
So this might be one now off the cap, but it's something that's come in to myself this week. Is when someone obviously has had, say, our support services like OT or social worker go out and they are in, say, private rent, and they then obviously have said that because of their health condition, that property is no longer suitable for them. What is the system then? What is the sort of referral system, how they try to move properties or into social housing or whatever it is?
That's right. They can make an application to us. We will carry out an assessment. One thing that we look at is suitability and reasonability. So if it is, like I say, from due to a physical condition, we would look at an OT report. If we deem something as not suitable, then homelessness duty may well be owed, and we would assist that person then with moving. If they are a social housing tenant, we would say to them, contact your landlord as well. They may be able to move internally. But, you know, every application is assessed on its merits, and I say reasonability and suitability are at the front of that. So that's how we would look at it in that case, yeah.
Do we have many coming from internal, obviously, if conditions with, obviously, our disability team and that? Do we have a lot of, referrals that way as well?
They do come in, just looking at the numbers internal, we've had 83 in the last 6 months that have come from internal services. Like I said, I can break that down further to how many have come from social workers, etc. But a lot of those will be for reasons like that. Yeah, they will be. So it is, it's a regular occurrence, for want of a term, that we get those applications, yeah.
Sorry, I don't want to prolong the conversation, Chair. But I think from my point of view, what I'm saying around that cohort probably is needs a proper care plan around it. So there's a housing issue, but there's also a care issue, and the two sides of the direction need to work together. And we're taking that forward as we speak.
Okay, because I know that obviously when me and Councillor Pregard spoke as well, when you're actually reading all these homeless reports, it's a lot ties in with the Children in the Tide document as well. So again, there's a lot of reports that are coming to us now, which I don't know if we need to look at to maybe have some of them like more maybe together on the same sort of day that they link more together than being more separate on the work programme, maybe, I don't know. So it's maybe something we discuss.
I think that's a really good point. If you can just give us probably 6 months or so, because that's exactly what's occurred to the senior leadership across the region. In that we're dealing with housing issues, and then over there we're dealing with drug use and alcohol use issues, and then over there we're dealing with the care side of things and homelessness and mental health issues, etc. We need to bring that together. So we're looking at, well, actually, how might we structure the region in order to enable us to do that? And then I'll be able to bring you back a report which takes account of what we're doing.
Well, it's one of the questions I got later, but I may as well ask you now, it seems quite appropriate, is that the data analysis is like sometimes when we've looked at this report, we looked at many other reports, Turn the Tide, etc. A lot of it has got about doing the analysis of data or improving on data. So have we got a system that we've got a collaborative data analyst going on across or not? And is this something that you've thought of a plan going forward?
We have thought about it. So you and I are on the same lines as far as that's concerned. So yes, as I talked about, those dealing with everything in isolation, we've got a number of data analysts across the piece, but actually they need to collate together. So that's that restructuring point that I'm making.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, happy with that. I've lost where I am now, Tom. 5B.
Yeah, so you want to just note the report, Chair?
Yeah. This report is for information and noting. So moving on now. This report 5B is also for information as well. So, and it's on the rapid housing progress report. Police and officers provide a brief introduction to the report, please.
Yes, I am. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm really pleased to be here today to give a bit of an update on the progress to date with our rapid rehousing transition plan. So just a little bit of context. In October 2021, all local authorities were mandated to write, produce and submit a rapid rehousing transition plan to Welsh Government. Neath Talbot submitted the plan in October 2022. I've got a copy of it here. It was quite a thorough plan and it's well set out and there's lots of key priorities in there. Now, what the rapid rehousing aims to do and what the transition plan aims to do is shift away from existing homelessness platform and arena and move toward more of a sustainable accommodation and support models. So within the plan itself, there are a number of key priority areas and looks at not just the properties, but also the support. Now, Appendix 1 of the report gives an update on some of those key priority areas. There are other priorities we are working on, but we didn't list them all just for today. We wanted to go through a couple of the key main ones. We have touched upon the purchase of properties for priority and not to go back on that in great detail, but we have had sight on over 150 of those properties, to which just under 50 have gone to viewings. And another 23 were rejected at viewing stage. So Rob's team is working really hard to get it right. As of today, we've got 10 offers that have been accepted, and those local members have been notified. And any conversations that we'd like to have, we'll have them openly and honestly, and an opportunity then to reconsider that if there's anything significant we need to be aware of. We are working collaboratively across the board with a lot of our internal partners to get as much intelligence we can in the area. Totally take on board from members. They are a vital part of this, and we do recognise that, and we do welcome working with them to get the right accommodation mix and style for the communities. And we do hope to purchase those 10 and deliver those 10, which will make a massive impact on those people in B&B accommodation to provide them a more suitable accommodation rather than a B&B room. And it will have an impact then on our spend on B&B accommodation as well. It's not the only strategy we're working towards. It comes in line with a number of other strategies as well. And some of those are linked in the priorities in the appendix. There's a lot of work we need to do and we are doing to deliver this, and that continues. We've tried to position ourselves as a strategic team, which is quite new as well. And we've tried to do that internally because we're brand new, regionally and with Welsh Government, because there's been some great questions today about our involvement with Welsh Government. And we do talk to them very regularly about funding opportunities and the challenges we face. And we have managed to maximise a lot of our funding opportunities recently and increase some of our capital funding opportunities. that does put us in a position to look at other priorities and options. So I'd like to open the floor up to any questions from the appendix we provided, and I'll try my best to answer them.
All right, okay, yeah, just a reminder that obviously we've got 2 appendix here. Appendix 1 is in public, but appendix 2, there are some questions on it, so we'll be holding that back for private later. Okay. Right, Sharon. No. Helen, I knew it was someone beside me.
I think I've already asked the question in the wrong place, but never mind.
I think that is with all these papers, lots of the questions are either going to be duplicated or we're going to ask them in the wrong ways.
Yeah.
So as long as you have the answers,
But
we are not particularly bothered if you're not.
I have thought of another question actually, while you were talking about people whose property isn't suitable for them because they've got disabilities now and maybe, you know, having a DFG is not an option, whatever. And I think I've discussed this before with you, Shelley. Is it something we can look at if somebody does come to us and say, I need to go into social housing and I'm on private housing? Can we look at purchasing that property off them?
I think, Rob, Rob, do you want to come in with that one? I think if you know of houses that, you know, someone's looking to sell and you think it might be suitable, we're happy to take a look at that. It may be that it's not a property that would be suitable for us to buy for various reasons. Rob, is there anything you wanted to add?
No, exactly the same. So I'm more than happy to go and look at properties. But like I mentioned earlier, we have got a fairly sort of strict guideline to the type of property that we want at the moment. But happy to look at properties, no problem at all.
I'm just thinking, is there any sort of legal reason why, you know, say if we're talking to these people and an option for them might be to go into care or whatever, and they want to sell the house, if we was to speak to them before they even went to an estate agent, is that a problem?
I think you've already had good success in that anyway, haven't you?
Well, I'm not aware of any issue. We can double check, but we get emails from councillors saying, oh, are you aware of this property, that property? And, you know, we're prepared to look at properties that may be suitable.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, could we make it part of the process if somebody does present to us like that we have that conversation? And, you know, not to say to them, are we definitely going to buy a property, but can we come and have a look at it?
Yeah, the problem will be is if they're presenting to, let's say, social services, GDPR, we wouldn't know that someone's come to social services for that, because we've done a piece of work previously where we wanted to write out to people that might have a home that are in a care home to say we could lease the property from you. So we had to go around that in a certain way, so we couldn't write out to them. It had to be a certain part of the council due to GDPR, things like that. But yeah, we could look at something like that. I think I haven't got a complete answer for you, but let's look at it now. We're doing this. We could have a revisit that with you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was just going to say that the ward councillor would be aware of a situation like that.
Yeah, and like I say, we're happy to take emails. We've had some from other ward members saying, oh, we're aware of this property or we're aware of this property, and we can take a look at that and see if it's suitable. So we would be open if you know of any properties that might be suitable for us to let us know.
Sure. I think ward members may have residents who are in private accommodation, but actually are working actively to get them into other accommodation, and I can, you know, I can think of a few. So that's just one benefit of involving the ward councillor.
Yeah. I was going to say something, but I might mention it in private. That's the first time I'm thinking it. Get ready for life. Maybe, I don't know. Right, going on to 5C.
Charles,
Oh,
sorry, my hands up.
Oh. Sorry, Carol, come in, I can't see you. Oh,
Sorry, Chair, I don't know why my camera had gone off. I must have hit it by mistake. Yes, just one quick question. When you're talking about rapid rehousing, I was just wondering how because if it's rapid rehousing into properties we bought for that specific reason, how do we ensure we can get them out once we found them somewhere else? Do you understand the way I'm I hope you understand what I mean.
Yeah, of course.
It's not that we want to just dispose of people left, right, and centre, but if that's what the accommodation is for, what it's sort of what is there like a contract that this is will only be temporary and it won't be able to stay there kind of thing? Thanks.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to come. It's a great question, and it's a sort of the $1 million question, really, with trying to move people on to suitable accommodation. We do think a scenario like using this kind of a project would enable us to work more closely with people to ensure that there is a transition and a pathway on to suitable accommodation. We do work really closely with our registered social landlord partners as well. So we want to make sure that those people going through the process are set up correctly on the housing register, and we try to maximise their moving opportunities. What we will say at this moment in time, that is that real high demand for 1-bed accommodation. Now, there is quite a good, strong profile for 2 and 3 beds in Neath Talbot, but there is that lack of 1-bed supply. And the project we've spoken about around purchasing accommodation does give us an opportunity to try and address some of that, albeit in the short term. And we have also got quite a strong development forecast for the next couple of years as well in place. So it's going to increase provisions, but it's going to take a number of the strategies to come together to make this work. So yeah, that's a really good question. Thank you.
Going to come back, Carol?
Well, I mean, I think I was thinking more. No, I think I was thinking more about legally. We need to make sure that we get the wording right on any kind of contract we have to ensure that we don't go and buy something and then somebody ends up staying when we wanted that accommodation for something else. That's my point was. But I appreciate the rest of the answer. It was helpful. Thank you.
That was something similar to we've been private. Right, okay, so if questions now on Appendix 2, so we're going to go into private. So we now move to the private appendix on the agenda. So I propose access to meetings to resolve to exclude the public for the following items. Pursuant to section 100A 4 and 5 of the Local Government Act 1972 and the relevant exempt paragraphs of Part 4 of Schedule 12A to the above Act. Can I please have a seconder? Are there any abstentions? Members, if you do not indicate the contrary, I will take it that this motion is supported.
Can't see any indication to the contrary, Chair.
Can I please ask now that any public or press in attendance now exit the meeting, and can the recording be stopped?